welcome to our Coffee and Consulting event. My name is Friederike Ruch and I'm the managing partner of Convenus and will guide you through the Coffee and Consulting event. I hope you already have your coffee at your hand, and so that we can start with the presentation, or better to say with the input about business travelers, and then let's see what your questions are as well to that topic. Before we start, on the right-hand side, you will see our presentation slides. So in case you do want to download them, do that while we have our presentation. Further, any question you might have during the presentation, please drop them in the question box, and then I will answer them after the presentation. So let's start. Our today's topic is best practice regarding business traveler and compliance. I don't know how much you already had to deal with that topic. We have to say we deal with that topic on a daily basis. Even business travelers or business travels are not as many as they had been in the past. However, we realize, or we have seen in the last couple of weeks, that it is picking up again and that people are traveling again. So when we deal with business traveler compliance, there are a lot of topics we have to look at, as well as a lot of things need to be considered in order to be completely compliant. What are now the challenges or the potential risks about business traveler compliance? The thing is that the various authorities which are involved in business travelers or business trips, like the customs, the tax authority, the immigration authority, and so on, they are increasingly scrutinizing all those business traveler population, and they're looking at it much stricter as in the past. So what we see is that that is a topic any company really needs to take care of, because also once COVID-19 is more or less done, or we are done with it, and we are getting back to more or less the normal times where business trips are a lot on a daily basis, that is something each company really has to take care of. The problems or the risks we see if you're not compliant, one is definitely the reputation. Media is looking much more in that topic as well as looking at the ethical behavior of all the different companies. Further, because there is an increase of audits, labor market controls, authorities also exchanging more and more data between each other. There's then as well the risk of higher penalties, fines, potentially as well imprisonment, and companies getting blocked in sending people from one country to the other country. So it's definitely something you have to take care in order to have your people traveling back and forth without any problems. Now, compliance, or to try to be compliant is one thing. The other thing is there are a lot of challenges we need to fulfill in order that we are in a position, at least, to be compliant. And one thing, and that is maybe in most of the companies the biggest topic, it is about the data and how we can get the data, about the travel data, personal information, and so on. A lot of people do not really want to inform their HR or their company about upcoming travels. It is meant as somebody would like to kind of restrict them in what they currently already do. So with all the freedom everybody has, this is something we see that people tend not to want to answer any kind of questions about their business trips, as well as not providing any kind of personal information. So that is the biggest challenge we see currently in order to get at least in a position to be compliant. Then the next biggest topic we see is in regard to immigration. You may have already seen that the EU have that posted worker directive challenged a bit, or better to say, it has been now getting stricter. This is something we see as a challenge as well as that it costs a lot of money, because companies have then to have representations in other countries, or taking care even for one day to get a notification or a work permit. Then in addition, or with that goes all the labor law matters, above all the matter about salary level, that if you send somebody to another country for a business trip, that you have to make sure you pay him as much salary as someone would earn in that country. Now, looking for business trips from Switzerland to any other country, most likely that is not as big as a topic as for other countries. But if you look at companies coming, or people coming from Germany, France, or any other EU member state and then traveling to Switzerland, we usually have always the matter about the salary level, and that the Swiss salary level is much higher than in other countries. But it goes the same way with all the other EU member states. As well as we have the topic as well in the non-EU region. The only thing is that usually there we don't have to do something for just one day. There usually we have a work permit to get just for a time, usually above 30 days, but it's also possible that if somebody travels frequently, we even have to do that for a shorter period. Social security is more or mostly a matter of formalities. However, it's also that we need to look about the international insurance coverage, as well as whether there is a treaty between the two countries or not, and there might be a risk of the individual getting subject to social security in the country he is traveling to. Income tax is something that was already a hot topic even before the EU posted worker directive has been or was being stricter. There mostly it's about the economic employer principle, or factual employer principle as we have it in Switzerland. This is something you definitely need to look at business trips and see whether there is an income tax matter to be dealt with, as well as whether there is any payroll obligation in the country the business traveler is traveling to. And the last point, or the last challenge, better to say, from our perspective, is in regard to corporate tax, and there mainly about the permanent establishment risk. So that the business traveler is creating a permanent establishment in the country he is on a business trip. I don't know how familiar you are with all the challenges and whether you have already dealt with or how you have dealt with them. Here, just to give you a quick idea about all the compliance risks. There are a lot of more compliance risks. Certainly, we just picked out a couple of also to show you it's not just a matter in the EU or in Switzerland. It is also in other countries, like in the US, for example. We just picked out that there's a tax implication or might be a tax implication already from the first day somebody is traveling to. So there you also have to look at whether there's something you need to take care of, or how best to avoid it when you send people to the US. Switzerland, you might be familiar with the salary matter. I think anybody who wants to send people to Switzerland has the issue that the salary level in Switzerland is quite high, and therefore everybody coming here, or a lot of people coming here, not everybody, but a lot of people traveling to Switzerland, there you will have to pay an additional amount just to meet the Swiss salary level. As well as that, we have in Switzerland quite a strict work permit or notification process in place. So that means already for people coming here for 1 day, we might need to file a work permit or get a work permit done. And from a tax point of view, we do have that factual employer approach, which you also need to look at, and people, or the tax authority here in Switzerland, is getting on that much stricter and much quicker, also asking questions about a business traveler to the company. In Switzerland, at least, the immigration authority and the tax authorities have already agreed on that for anybody coming to Switzerland for more than 90 days, they will inform the tax authority. So there is already a data exchange in place. We will just have to see and wait when that will also be for shorter periods of travels to Switzerland, when they then exchange the information. Ireland, we picked out that there is, if you're there just for a bit over 30 days, there is a payroll withholding obligation, and it doesn't matter whether that individual in the end will get a salary from Ireland or whether it is something paid just abroad. India, we picked out that there is a much stricter handling with visa and immigration matters, as well as there, again, the information from the immigration authority has been or will be exchanged with the tax authorities. And I think in the EU, what currently, I would say at least us, troubles the most is that posted worker registration requirement, as well as the economic employer concept from a tax point of view. This is just to give you an idea about the various compliance risks. So it is really in all the different topics like taxes, immigration, social security, where you just need to be aware or look to it, or to look at it a bit closer. Now, we know now what the challenges are and what our risks are. So what can we do to be best prepared for the future? Maybe you have already tackled all the different items and have already prepared yourself best for the future. Now, if not, then the starting point will be just to make an analysis of the current situation, see where you are, what are your topics you definitely have to look at a bit closer, or maybe you already have everything in place and you are tracking all your business trips in a right way in order to make sure there are no compliance risk, or better to say you have the compliance risks as minimized as best as possible. From my point of view, to be 100% compliant in that matter, that is not possible at all. You may get a compliance ratio of about 80–90%, but you will never ever, I think, be able to track all the business trips and really be able to look at all the different topics in the right way. Just because also that business trips are coming up on a very short notice, so you don't have a lot of time to review everything in detail, which sometimes is definitely required. We have seen a lot that the awareness of these challenges and the importance, or to be aware of the importance of it, is not really in everybody's mind. So there, a lot of information has to be shared, and people have to be informed about these challenges and how important it is in order to have as well the company in the right state. As soon as you are then basically aware what you need to do and how you would like to look at the different topics, then you need to define processes in order that you definitely will be able to track down all the travels, review whenever possible, or if possible, the immigration matters, the income tax matters, social security, and the labor law matters. Reporting and data management is also something you really have to look at, as well as the permanent establishment risk. So from a company perspective, that you also are on good ground. And lastly, then as well, the year-end requirements and how you as well will report kind of all the compensation you need to pay while somebody is on a business trip, as well as the differential of a compensation. Like if you send somebody to Switzerland and there needs to be an additional payment done because the Swiss salary level is higher than the one from the individual from home, then you need to define a process how you in the end get the information for the days somebody had to travel to Switzerland, how you get the information in the payroll, and so that the reporting is correctly done, as well as the taxes and social security has been deducted. As soon as you look at all the processes, you see that if you do everything with Excel or manually, it is a lot you need to do. And the thing is, you most likely have not just travels from one country to the other, but you need to look at a lot of other countries as well. And maybe even traveling then in between those countries. So you should look, or at least for the future, need to look at what kind of tools or systems are already available, which you can add on to your current system, or maybe even define something new. What we also have seen, which is really quite important, is to define the responsibilities. Who is responsible for tracking all the information and everything, and that all the reviews and checks are done? Is that the HR? Then who in the end will approve a business trip? And then in addition, in case there is additional compensation required, who is the one dealing with that or approving it? Is it the HR or the line manager? And then as well indicate what the responsibilities are on the employee side. What is his task to do? That above all, he's sharing the information, providing all the data, so that from an immigration perspective, for example, everything can be done. In the companies where we have already implemented such a business traveler compliance model, still there needs to be regular communication and providing information to all the various stakeholders you have, just to also make sure they are always up to date and keep their awarenesses of the challenges and the importance of that topic. As well as in the end, if you do not have implemented an internal audit process or a kind of review, there is a tendency that the one or the other business trip might not be looked at in the way it should. And as a last slide before I then will look at your questions and so that we can answer them as well, we have put down here a review checklist. So with all the different steps you need to look at when you have a business trip in front of you, like the information you require in order to do the review, and then to see that you need to check on the business trip from an immigration perspective. You need to make sure that you look at mandatory labor law requirements. There is, in addition to the salary as well, the topic of work hours, holidays, and so on. You need to review the income tax side. As said as well earlier already, the permanent establishment risk. This is something countries are picking up on that topic, and we may see in the future that is more and more often that companies need to look at that a bit more stricter. We have to review the Social Security implications, and mostly maybe just to get the A1 or the certificate of coverage confirmation so that the employee can travel to the other country without any problems. International health insurance coverage is also something you have to look at. However, there usually companies have already a business traveler insurance in place or travel insurance in place where that might be covered, or people who are traveling frequently to other countries, they do have already an international health insurance coverage. However, if not, that is something you should look at a bit closer, just also because of the current situation with COVID, and you never know whether then in the end somebody gets stuck in a place he had a business trip to. And the last 2 points are the payroll requirements as well as the year-end requirements. You have to look at whether there is an obligation in the country the employee goes to, whether there is a payroll to be run, or everything can be done from home. We also, what we did in the last couple of weeks, we have made up a business traveler checkup. So you can check it out on our website. And in case you do have a business trip, you are not really sure how to deal with it, and you don't have the time maybe, or the knowledge or the capacity to take care of, we are happy if you fill it out, and then you will get an assessment from us and a recommendation for the business trip. You can just check that out on our website. This was in short an overview about the best practice, or better to say as well, with the challenges and the risks you have. And I would be happy now to answer any questions from you, in case there are any. Okay, there are not that many. Maybe it was already quite clear in what we provided with, or maybe as well you have already done all your homework in that regard and everything is on good track. We do have one question, which is that what shall be done in regard to the EU posted worker directive if we have a lot of people going abroad, but we don't have there our own companies or entities. We only have people sent to clients. The answer to that is, in case you don't have your own legal entities in the countries, then you will need to find somebody helping you with the immigration matter or the notification in the country. Usually you need to have somebody also in that country, because a lot of EU member states have the necessity that you need to have a representation in the country, which means somebody where the authorities can go to and ask all the questions. They will not come to you if you're not present in that country. In most of the countries as well, you will have to have a representation, not just for the business trip itself, but also for 2 or 3 or even for a longer period afterwards. And then in addition, the notification you have to do in the country are usually not even in a language like English or French. Sometimes it's just in the native language of the country, and you may not even be able to read everything. So the best is really to have somebody in the country helping with you. Okay, there is no further question now from your end. So I hope you enjoyed and liked the presentation and the topic we had. We are happy as well to meet you at one of our next seminars. The next seminar will be on the 16th of June, and it will be as well about the topic business traveler and all the various aspects like tax, social security, and immigration. So in case you would like to look at the topic a bit closer, then we're happy if you would join us on the 16th of June. And here a list of all our webinars we still will run this year. The next one will be tomorrow about Social Security in Switzerland, and there the level 2. Thank you very much for your today's time, and we hope to see you quite soon. Thank you and have a good day.